to share with you an audience today how Barbara and I met and how our relationship progressed to the point of our marriage. We've been married now for about 5 years. So we feel like it is most interesting the way that God brought us together and how our relationship grew. So Barbara, I'll let you begin with a few thoughts. You coming from Oklahoma and how you almost didn't come to the lectureship, and that was your first one.
Really? And that was the 61st lectureship. And I had never gone to one before. And they had, different people had encouraged me to go, just asking me. We were trying to get that room with 4 people so we could divide it up, because this was Nashville, Tennessee, the Grand Ole Opry Hotel, so that was really quite a year. Anyway, about a week, maybe, yeah, it was just about a week before the bus was to leave, because I was going with a group from Oklahoma City, Northeast Church of Christ. And I remember I was so tired because it was coming up on my spring break from school with my job. And I thought, boy, it would be so nice to not have to go anywhere, just stay home and rest. So I took it a little further. I called Shannon and talked to him and told him, Shannon, I'm changing my mind. I just don't think I think I'd do better here. And of course, he gave me the right act. Mom, this is for leaders. You're not a minister, but you are a leader. And you have a lot of things you have to deal with, so you need to go. Well, after about 10 minutes of his speech, I told him, oh, okay, I'll go. And then he told me, good, because I just talked myself into going too. He works for the school system. So he, and also that was his spring break, so he was already thinking about it as well.
Let me ask you a question. Did you have any idea that you would run into your future husband at this conference? Were you even looking for a husband?
No. And I never closed that door the 20 years before I met him. I never closed the door, but I was not pursuing it because my life was so full. I didn't have room for a husband. I thought, thank goodness I only had me to look out for. But I just really wasn't into it. And I thought the ladies, we'd go places and enjoy it. And that was sufficient enough for my, I guess, social life at that time.
Well, Dr. Bowers, how did you happen to come to this particular conference?
Well, I had gone to a number of lectureships, but I don't go every year. These are sponsored by Church of Christ. But it so happened that my wife had passed 2 years earlier, in 2004. And I was just regrouping and going through a period of grieving. And normally I don't ask to speak, and a lot of times when I'm asked to speak, I'll have to go back and consult my calendar. But when Dr. Jones called me as the minister of the Schrader Lane Church of Christ and asked would I be the banquet speaker, I accepted that willingly because I felt like I had something to say to people who were suffering like myself. So I wanted to go. And we took Crystal, my oldest daughter, along with her daughter, Taylor, and other members of the family were there. So I look forward to that. I didn't know who I was going to meet, and I wasn't expecting to meet anyone. I guess I really stuck my foot in my mouth because you all had a special event. Will you tell about that special event that just before I spoke?
That year they gave the wives of the widows of the ministers a gift. That's what they said. And it took me 2 days. Emma Oles from Oklahoma City, my roommate, one of them, she kept after me to go by and sign up. Barbara, won't you sign up? And I said, oh, okay, I will. And finally I did. So see, everything I did was almost pushed into it. And then that night at the luncheon, the dinner, banquet, sorry, they were passing out these dozen red roses. And I don't have a number, but he called names for a while, and I could estimate about 300 widows there. And it was funny because I had already looked at the bio on the program, and it said that you, Calvin Bauer, is the speaker, and they had your picture. And I thought, well, he's nice looking. Then they said he's a husband of the late Moses. I said, oh my! I went back and I read that again because actually I don't ever remember reading about a wife having passed on. That was one thing also that caught my attention. And I said, wow, he is single. I said, boy, I get this one. I said, I'll catch this one. I go back to Oklahoma and I tell him, hey, look at here. This must be one of the biggest fish in the sea. Look what I caught. And I just giggled to myself and forgot about it. I really did.
So how did you actually meet one another?
Okay. Again, coincidence. The roses that they gave out so many, they got the name plaques. The vase sat on top of a name plaque, on a little plaque, and your name was on the plaque. They got the names mixed up. And I thought, well, this is not mine, but I'll just go. I didn't read it until I got back to the table. And that table, that room that night, looked like a football field. It was just that big. It was around 2,500 people there.
I would say,
yeah. Yeah. So I didn't want to trail back down through there. And when I got down there, I thought, well, I left the roses at the table with Emma, and I go down to look for my plaque. I figured, it's not but one down there, the one I had and the one for me to exchange. I was surprised. There were several down there. And I was reading through them, and all of a sudden, I look up, and there he stood. I mean, he was like just within arm's distance from me. And so I go, oh, boy, and I thought about kind of what I'd said, read through my mind. I got tickled. I thought, well, say something. And I finally said, you are? He said, Brother Bowers. I said, okay, I'd forgotten his name. Anyway, he said, no, I told him. I said, I was in your shoes about 20 years ago. Because during the speech, he did mention about his wife passing away and how he didn't know he couldn't figure out how that was for the best, but he knew the Lord only did things for the best. So I said, my husband died about 20 years ago. I said, but let me tell you, don't complain too long on it, because in those 20 years, I've lost 2 grown sons and a 4-month-old grandbaby. And I had never even seen a baby's casket. When I walked in there and seen that, it just about blew my mind. So he looked at me, I said, and he had a startled look. So I said, but my glass is half full. I said, the Lord isn't finished with me yet. So I turned around to walk off, and he made a statement. He said, well, would you call us sometimes? And when I went my back to him, I thought, he wasn't supposed to say that.
Yeah, I think that I deserve equal time. It's amazing how things are perceived from different perspectives. Yes, first of all, I was unaware that anything had been presented for widows. Nobody mentioned that to me. And when I came, there was a lot of singing and the in-between and all of that. And I just knew that there was a full audience. We had a very fine meal, prime ribs, and a lot of food which I couldn't eat because I knew I had to speak. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting there with Dr. Jones and his wife. Mm-hmm. But in my speech, I did mention my wife because I really, said you have to look at scriptures differently when you go through different stages in life. And those two scriptures, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord, and in everything give thanks. That's 1 Thessalonians 5:18. And I mentioned how I was wrestling with those scriptures, having lost my wife. And then I said that I was gaining some traction because I realized that she loved the Lord. And maybe things were working better for her. And, of course, I didn't realize where I was. And I don't know why. I think, really, the people were dispersing.
Yes.
And I'd come off the stage, and I was standing in front of the stage. And when I met you, and truthfully, I just knew you were. I remember you being kind and gave words of encouragement. But and when you left, someone else was coming up. I wouldn't dare be rude, so that's why I said, call us sometime. And of course, I guess that sparked something in you because you actually called.
I actually called because I felt like I would have been lying to you had I not done what I said I would do. Because I toiled around with that for about 2 weeks before I called back. So I went back, and JR and I went to a workshop, the Soul Winning workshop in Tulsa. And then we returned. So that's when I thought, well, I'll call him. At least I did what I was supposed to do. And it was really an interesting call because I didn't have the phone number, so I had to call the information. And I kept trying to talk myself out of it. I said, he's probably busy and won't answer the phone or whatever. Well, I said, I can't get the number. That's what I said. I called, and the operator gave me the telephone number. And I thought, well, I looked at the number for a while, and I said, well, he's probably not even there. I don't want to be bothering him and all this. And I thought, well, make the call. That's what you said you were going to do, and you'll be through with it. So that's what I was trying to do. I made that call, and honest, on the second ring, he answered that phone. And I told him who I was. And we got to talking, and we talked for 75 minutes, just on that one call. But he told me later, he said, I feel that you really understand what I'm going through with, and I shared little bits of information. When I don't do this, we'll do that, and get your rest. Don't encourage, don't make the wrong step, because women do sometimes take things for granted, and they sort of get the wrong reading out of it. So be careful. And actually, that was just through with it. So he said, I think you, you just told me okay, didn't you? And you listened. Oh, what I was curious about and kind of shocked, you said, would you like to have a copy of my wife's obituary? So we have a lot of pictures in there of our family, and you can kind of tell more about a person or get a better understanding if you have with pictures, So I said, well, yes. And I said, I'd like to have a copy of your book. And of course he told me, well, I'll send you an order blank, and you can order you a copy.
You didn't think I was going to donate a copy?
Well, you should have made the call.
To a total stranger?
Yeah, really. No, that was fine. No, I wasn't really.
Well, I use a certain amount of caution. because I didn't know you.
Really, and I would, yeah.
Someone calling me, I didn't really know, and you know, I was still going through some things, and but that was a good conversation. I think that you've said some encouraging things, and I wasn't keeping time.
Well, the only reason I knew what it was is I have a timer on my phone, and when I hung up.
But I know one thing that I mentioned, you know, I didn't want to prolong the conversation because I said, you know, you paying for this call, but you said, well, I have unlimited minutes. So I kept on talking. And that initiated our first conversation. After several conversations and your request for me to help you with this speech, you began to share. You were giving a speech on prayer, and you asked about help, which I did, and you gave that speech. And after several conversations, I said, you know, I'm talking with this person. I don't even know what she looked like, because I had no recollection of how she looked, because it was others coming, and then I had a lot of family members there. Now she finally sent a few pictures. In the meantime, during that correspondence, you mentioned that I might be interested in someone else in the church. I don't know whether you eliminate the competition or not. But I said, now why would she even know about this person here in L.A.? And maybe I had inadvertently told you that there was a friend of our family and all of that.
Lost a husband and all this.
You had to check out that particular thing. And but anyway, we got to a point where you invited me. Well, I think invited me there for the Christmas holiday.
Well, but that was after we met at Southwestern for the lectureship there.
I began to see certain qualities in her, because once she said she was coming to the lectureship, even though, well, two things, even though you just had your surgery about 2 weeks prior to that, and even though the people that were supposed to come with you backed out, but you still came, so I recognize that it could be interpreted two ways, but I recognize that as a mark of quality. And I did get to see you. That's the first time. That's the first time I remember seeing you. But yes, you had sent some pictures before I came. Yeah, and even there, you know, the phone number that you gave me when we met after that speech.
That's true.
I didn't see you anymore, and I tried to call, but it was
he had the wrong number, and so it was everything we did. It seemed like it was like should have ended it.
Well, I don't think you were too impressed with my friend Dyson. We always traveled together, but somehow or another you didn't get good vibes from Brother Dyson.
Oh no, I wouldn't. Brother Dyson gave me the hardest old look, you know, up and down, and I wanted to tell him, because one thing I can say about Calvin that impressed me from the beginning when we met, because someone had told me, well, don't be surprised if he doesn't even look toward you when you get there after being invited. I said, hey, I'm going there to enjoy the lecture. It won't bother me. But everyone would come up to us. He would always say, this is a friend of mine from Oklahoma, Sister Hayes, Barbara Hayes. I mean, everybody. And if he said that one time, he must have said it 50, because people kept coming up to speak to him. And he just immediately turned and introduced me to him. And I wanted to say, would you go tell that man over there that you're riding with that you invited me here? I didn't just come in and grab a hold of you. You knew I was coming. We laugh about that now. He is a wonderful person.
I told him you were a friend, but he said, that woman ain't no friend. She looking for a husband.
I know it. He did say that. I tell you.
But he has become, you have to admit, he's become one of your best friends.
He really has.
And best supporters since we've been married.
Right. And you know, when we hardly got a chance to talk at the lectureship because they were honoring Moselle at the Winston luncheon.
Yep.
And someone else. So Lori met me.
Carl Backer's wife.
Oh, okay.
They were on those two.
Okay, well, anyway, Lori told me I could ride with them. I rode over with her husband. And he even told me, he said, well, my daughter and her husband would be there. And I thought, well, what do I need to meet the daughter for? I'm just going there to meet your family. I'm just going there to say hi to you and then possibly eat lunch or something. But he just kept on, and it did. It was kind of, it was just odd.
Well, how long was it from this second meeting? And I think you said you had your arm in a sling because you had surgery on your arm.
Had surgery.
How long was it from there till the time that there was a proposal on the table? And how did that come about?
The ladies' dinner date. You invited me out for that.
No, well, prior to that.
Prior to that, we met.
Prior to that, you invited me
to come to, for the Christmas holidays.
In February. Mm-hmm. That was in November. In February, you invited me to come to your Black History Week program.
Right. You spoke
because
at Abilene.
I had to go to Abilene, that's correct. And you invited me to come to that Black History program. And you also came. Of course, we stayed at one hotel with Sam, and you stayed at another one, and you also met Sam's people, and we went to church there, Treadway Church of Christ, and that's when we kind of began to get a little bit more comfortable in talking with each other. But when you invited me to go back to Clinton, that's when we started talking more.
We had time to visit.
And you for the Black History program. And of course, I guess we're pretty excited on the way, you know. We stopped for gasoline and about to drive off without it until the man came out and said, who's paying for this gasoline? And we made it back to Clinton, just about dark. You asked would I go to the meeting, and you know, I'd already gotten a little curious because where we stopped, where you dropped me at the motel, I saw that they had branding iron motel. I don't know what's on their mind.
Brandon Iron Cafe.
Brandon Iron Cafe. Yeah. So I noticed that, and of course when I went with you to your meeting, and then the alarm went off. I didn't know whether it was, you know, I didn't know whether it was an I got your meeting or not. With that alarm going off, and the people say, well, if the police show up, they're going to ask you a question first because you're a stranger. So they finally got that off, and I gave a speech to your board. Do you remember that? I gave a speech complimenting them what to do. So you can take it from there.
Actually,
so you were, by then you were already serious about one another?
No.
Had it already gotten to that point?
We were still, no. We'd had gotten to first names, though. We got to first name basis in Abilene. I was helping him with his books, and he says, well, Barbara, this one got there. Barbara, okay. And then I think I called him Calvin, because otherwise it was always Sister Bowers Sister Hayes and Brother Bowers. And
well, do you remember, was there a moment in time when you realized that, wait a minute, I'm seeing something different here, I'm feeling something here? Was it a gradual thing, or was it one moment, was it a door you walked through? How did that take place for each of you?
With me, I remember having that feeling. Actually, when he had me helping him with the books, and I kind of felt like that was something I needed to do. Because really, when I started this friendship, my goal was to assist him in finding a wife. And I knew what kind of person he needed because of what he did. And the more we talked, every time it would come up, well, he's going to need one can do this and one can do that, and what. He doesn't need anybody jealous. He doesn't need anybody wanting to know where he is at all times, and just so many things, you know. And every time I said, I said, well, Robert, you could do that. Yeah, but he needs somebody with. He has a doctorate. I have a master's, but he has a doctorate, and he's from the college setting. And I thought, that's what he needs, you know. So, and I didn't know where I was going to find somebody like that from the college setting, but I just kept talking with him to try to comfort him and be a friend while we were talking, while he was making up his mind. And when I sent him some pictures, I wrote him a letter and told him, now, you don't, when you get ready to move on, keep these in this envelope, and when you get ready to move on, mail them back to me. You know, I didn't want that anything being said about me because all of this was very innocent. So, and he still has them in there now in the drawer in that same envelope.
Wow.
Well, you said when I finish with them, mail them back. I'm not finished with them. Now, you know, one of the things that we had talked so much on the phone, we were very comfortable with each other. It was just a matter of seeing each other and getting used to each other's presence. And I when we went that night after we'd gone back, I never wanted to really get serious with anybody without seeing them in their environment, seeing what they were doing, and seeing if, you know, looking at compatibility. And when I went to your meeting, I was impressed with that. And then after your meeting, we had the Caldwells took us out to eat, and that you had to go to another meeting. But after we got there, I wasn't uncomfortable. I was enjoying their presence. But when you came to join us there, then that I started to feeling special, a special connection. You know, and then said, you know, I do have care for this person, seeing her in that context, because that really was before the graveyard experience, the mortuary experience, and all of that. So lasting through that experience of being taken to the mortuary, you know, that, and the whole thing, the emphasis on what you were doing, to see, looking at your operation and the meals you were serving and the people you were serving, and to see, you know, the respect that the people had for you and the appreciation for the job you were doing and the scope of people that you were dealing with, then it wasn't all intellectual. I don't want to give that impression, but that I always told people, you know, start with your head instead of your heart. You know, because if you start with, because once you get your heart involved, then your head stops functioning. So I saw in my mind that you were a very special person, and that we could be compatible. And that's
also Almas, I enjoyed talking to him because actually we were going through a trying time there with the program, and I looked forward to coming home at night to my house and calling him, because he was kind of like my sounding board, and that gave me courage to get up the next morning and fight it out, you know, get out and go fight again with it. So I began to feel that friendship thing, and also that was good, because had he found somebody else, I would have been able to move on, because I was beginning to feel like he was a friend, and when you got a friendship going, you got more than just emotions, you know. So I was very proud of that. I have two sons, my two sons that passed, Larry and Donald. I would have loved for them to, to have been able to meet him, because they would have really been impressed. Carla and Shannon.
Your other two children.
Huh?
Those are your other two children?
Those are my other two, my younger ones. And they really enjoy him. They're just proud of the whole deal. And Shannon, well, Carla, of course, Tawanda told me this, Shannon's wife. She said, Mathays, I told them, Mathays gonna marry that man. Shannon told her, my mom is not going to no California. She does not like, and I did not like California. I really didn't. I have a brother down in Bakersfield, two brothers, three really. And I remember telling them, Los Angeles is just a Sodom and Gomorrah. And so my oldest would call me. He said, Barbara, who is this? Because my sister back there called and told him what I was thinking about. But see, you have to realize I had so much going on in my world at that time. I didn't really have time to get into everything. It was just a flash with him. And so what got me was when he came back out here the morning after he got on the plane and he had spoken for me at the Black History program. I went home to get some sleep. He came on out here and he said, I went to Carla's house to get sleep. So he called me. I cut my phone off. When I turned it back on, I had five voicemails on there from him. And he said, well, I hope you made it. He said, I made it okay. When he first hit the ground, I'm here. And he said, well, we'll talk. And then he called back again. And I thought, wow. Again, I was so tired with everything that was going on. He said, so when I finally did call him back, I woke up and I called him back. He read off a list that he had gotten from me, on me, that he felt about me. And I felt like, who is this man talking about? But everything, I said, well, you do this, you do that, you do this. And I said, yeah. So he finally said, because he was writing all the time. He does this anyway. He had his little pencil and paper out just writing, keeping notes. And I did. I had him at the mortuary because there was a man there that had lost his wife, Jeannie and Wayne. Wayne had lost his wife. So he kept calling me. He was calling me in Abilene because they had to pull the plug on it. And so that made, I kept trying to console him. Then with this Black History program, he gets paid for speaking. He spoke 5 times, no, 4. He spoke on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then he donated us $100. We paid his room and board.
Clinton owes me big time.
Oh, we do. We really do. And that was funny. I thought, oh my goodness. So.
But by then you were both well on the way to really appreciating one another.
Yes, I think that after that trip, I think that after that trip, we became quite serious and appreciating each other, and had to begin to express that orally and talk about marriage. I think my children, I think they were a little surprised in that they didn't know anything about Barbara, and they really thought that period of time, was a little soon for me to think of remarriage, in which I hadn't thought of remarriage. I hadn't dated anybody, and because I realized that I didn't want to do it for the wrong reason, you know, just because of my loneliness, to get somebody else emotionally involved. And then I realized that I don't really care for this person on a long-term basis, so I hadn't got involved with anybody. It was just trying to, to be better on my own. But I had Barbara to come out after we decided that we were going to get married. I had her to come out and get to know the family. My daughter lived around the corner, my youngest daughter, on 78th Street, and she stayed with her. She stayed with her, and they had a big meeting out here that time. So people the people could not believe that I was getting married, and I had people come and tell me.
I didn't either.
So they got a rumor out that you were getting married. I told them it wasn't you, it's somebody else who was getting married, I said, well, you'll see that rumor here today. And she came to service. But I was very pleased with the way that Barbara presented herself. The people were very pleased with her, and they continue to be very pleased with her, get to know her, and because she cultivates friends quite well. So we set the date, August the 19th.
Well, we moved that date. First, I was thinking really maybe about 2 years. And he says, but first I want to tell you about the morning I was trying to get ready to go to church. That first day, to me, I thought, oh no. And that was a Sunday I came out to visit. And I think, oh my lands, what am I doing? And I stayed with his, as he said, I stayed with his daughter. But I was so nervous I could hardly get my clothes on. It took me so long that morning to get dressed. And because everything just kept going through my mind. Oh, what am I doing? How can I do this? So there was a lot because it happened pretty fast. And he said, well, when do you have to, something he said, and I said, no. He said, what about November? And I said, well, yeah, that'll be fine. Every day he did all the suggesting on the dates and stuff. And I said, well, yeah.
I did suggestion, but she kind of nudged me along.
Maybe,
it's like
I don't know.
When she spoke of catching the biggest fish, I said, the only thing wrong, you were using a hook, but I was using a drag net. So she was actually caught in a drag net, but, hook and all. But after that time, as we began to think about it and think of a proper time. But I actually visited you, when I came from Illinois.
You did?
I visited you on the 4th of July.
And I went down to Dallas when you and Brother Dyson spoke down there.
So we would meet up at places.
Periodically, we would. Yeah, you came down for my retirement. Remember?
Was that the 4th of July weekend? Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is really funny because he's romantic in his own kind of way, And we picked the ring out, which I forgot to put it, well, I took it off a while ago and forgot to put it back on. But anyway, he picked the ring out, and then we went, he wouldn't tell, we were ready to get married before he ever proposed. We were talking about marriage before he proposed, remember? And we went to Pepperdine Chapel, and that's where he proposed.
On the knees?
Officially.
How did that take place?
No, I wasn't on the knees. But we went in, they have a lovely chapel. In fact, that chapel is used for movies sometimes. It has all kind of glass and refractions in it. But I did take her there and propose to her. I believe it took you about 5 seconds to say yes.
Maybe 3. The biggest fish is 3.
One thing I liked about Barbara, she's easy to know, and she's flexible. We talk on different levels, and she has a good sense of humor. She's fun to live with, and since she's proven since
too.
we're married, she's said that she's quite willing to do anything to make our marriage work.
That's
and
true.
she has been well accepted by the church, and I don't think I've gone anywhere without you. I don't think I've gone out of the city since we've been married these years. We've
In the
gone
city,
to Texas,
mm-hmm.
and Ohio, Chicago, and Memphis, and just a lot of places, but we've all gone together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's fun, you know, traveling with him, and so we can talk and discuss about the same things. We go to all the meetings. Any meeting he goes to, funerals, weddings, whatever he has to go to, always go, because then we can interact about it when we get back home. And this keeps us compassionate, you know. I understand when he wants to go work, he'll go upstairs and write. And my eyes are bad, so I really don't do as much reading as I would like to. But I'm a self-contained person quite a bit, because I enjoy me some Barbara, you know. I don't have to have other people to entertain me. I enjoy people, but I also enjoy Barbara. So that balances out. When he's busy working on something, I am just enjoying Barbara. You know, it's my time.
Maybe you want to say something about the wedding itself. It was a bit overwhelming.
Oh, yes. Well, he had, and I'm sure he may have been just joking, but he called his brother in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa, and asked him to be my best man. So while they're here, you know, he said yes. Yeah, I don't know if he said it first or not, but I think his wife, Joanne, kind of talked to him, well, you should do that, you know, so he came.
Where was the wedding?
The wedding was August the 19th in Clinton, Oklahoma, at the Custer Avenue Church of Christ. Big place, nice. I mean, and this is really to show you, I guess, how cheap I am. That in Oklahoma, you can get marriage license for $5 if you get counseling. Have a letter from a counselor. So, otherwise they're $50. And I called my buddy Pat Peters, who is a minister of the church that we got married. I said, Pat, you got to do us some counseling. And he knew of him, you know. He didn't know him personally, but he knew about him. And he said, well, he laughed. He said, y'all can counsel me, you know. So he came in. But one thing Pat said that impressed me and made me think about what a magnitude our marriage would really be. Pat knew me about my work, and he knew him of what he had done. So he says, you know, he says, this is really, he said, this is powerful to think of what the two of you guys can do joining forces. He said, this is really going to be great. And many times I've thought about him with things we do, and said, Pat runs across my mind, because I think we've been pretty good for each other.
And it was a big wedding?
Yes, it was a pretty big wedding. Everybody that wanted to come was invited. And I was so busy packing, because we got married on the 19th of August, and we left on the 21st, coming back to LA. So that was the wedding was on a Saturday, and we left Clinton, coming to LA on that Monday.
You flew back?
Yes. He had the tickets, he had everything. He said, now are you going to, because they were just putting things together. My children and grandkids, all of this was going together. You know, they were putting, because I was busy trying to get things sold and also get them dispersed so I wouldn't leave all that stuff there. And actually, to show you I had not planned on getting married, I had just remodeled my house and had it fixed just like I wanted it. Every little flower vase wherever I wanted it.
And now you had to leave it.
And I was going to be there. So as I grew older, you know, it would be like I wanted it.
Well, let me ask you in closing. Is there anything, people are getting married and divorced, and our society is really, really struggling. Is there anything that the two of you would have to pass on to inspire people to take that chance or not take that chance, if not be?
I would think that it's the process that leads up to the marriage. I've told people that first of all, you have attraction to the person. Hopefully they'll be attracted to you. And then you have a period of friendship where you get to know each other. You may discover things about each other that repel, and you say, that's not the person for me. And to use an old-fashioned word, you have courtship. That's when you get a little bit more exclusive to each other. And then you have engagement and marriage. And I would say that it's more than the physical. A lot of people get married for physical attraction. That's good. Find somebody who looks good if they'll have you. And that's fine. We don't knock it. But it has to go beyond that. And a lot of people don't spend time getting to know each other and being honest with each other and say, well, we said we get married, we go ahead and do it. But divorce is a terrible thing. Neither one of us believed in divorce. And I had been married prior to 47 years and hadn't thought about divorce. But you see, it goes back to your family. My parents were always together, and I never saw my dad to say a harsh word to my mother, or much less strike her or anything. So that was just easy for me. But that's what I would say. Be sure you're going to have to take some chances on the person, just like the person takes some chances on you. But you can eliminate that possibility, and then come up with a plan of how you're going to live, where you're going to live, have an idea of the assets of each other, because you're going to need some funds to support you. So those kind of discussions, and we had plenty of time to discuss like that over the phone, and which we did. But that would be my advice, and then if you get married, it's a wonderful thing. It's to know that you have somebody who's main goal in life is take care of you, and then you have that mutual that your main goal in life is take care of her. So it's a mutual thing.
I think all of what he said also, but my thing would be becoming equally yoked, and that goes with life. With Christianity, we almost a lot of the foods that we eat we like. We don't like a lot of fancy things, and we'll just go out and grab a taco or something when we're out, and that's fun to us. If we want to go. He likes to use the term, I want to air my head out. We go shopping. We go walk through the malls. He's different from me. I do not like to try on clothes. He will try his clothes on, and Barbara, what you think? Well, Barbara, and I enjoy that. I enjoy spending the time with him, sharing these things with him. You've got to both know the Lord and know Him well. You don't want somebody that professes to be a Christian. And really and truly, their mind is far from it. You don't. That can blow up in a heartbeat, make a mess. So when I realized that it was funny. I told him that about the third or fourth time we talked, and I heard him talking, because I didn't know he was on the face of the earth until that night when he spoke, and I read that thing, read his bio. So there was no prior anything about him. I had seen the book back in, I think, 99, 98, somewhere back in there. And it was in Bakersfield. My brother had it when I got the book, but I didn't realize that's who wrote the book. So it's just amazing. And we sit now and wonder, how did we get here?
Let me give you also from ministerial perspective. In the second chapter of Genesis, when God created Eve and brought her to Adam, and God realized that she was to be a helpmate. Now, there are several things. God said there are 3 qualities to marriage for it to be durable. Just like you have a tripod there, you have 3 qualities. One is severance. For this cause shall a man leave father and mother. You must be willing to leave your father and mother. And you may live in the same city, you might live in the same house, but there must be a separation so that this new union can be formed. And then the next thing that was permanency. For this cause shall a man leave father and mother and cleave to his wife. It's that called cleave super glue. You've seen that advertisement where this great big guy trying to pull this piece of wood apart, but he can't do it because of super glue. Then you have to leave and you have to cleave to your wife. That's a super glue. And then it says in the 25th verse of that same chapter, and they were naked and were not ashamed. So that lets you know also there has to be transparency. You can't keep things from one and the other. Transparent, and you have to accept each other. So those 3 things are like that tripod. If you put a marriage on severance, transparency, and permanency and transparency, it's more likely to last.
And we're going to wrap that up. This is Dr. Calvin Bowers and Mrs. Barbara Bowers talking about the good things that life has to offer. Thank you both. This was really good.